In the meantime, we wanted to kind of proceed today with the next round. There's lots of excitement, obviously, out of Australia. Big birds back in the sky to the USA. Marketing campaigns starting to be put together to promote the USA. And I know that New Zealand and Queensland and all these other places that are still battling their fights to get open are getting closer and closer by the day. But it's a great time, and Washington, D.C. is back into the marketplace with this training series. And what better time for you guys as we head kind of towards that, new world of international travel again, to become special agents. Today, we're going to focus on the 3 M's, which is monuments, memorials, and museums. And Lindsay is an expert. Go ahead and definitely let us know where you're calling in from. I'm going to turn it over to Lindsay in just a moment. Just so as a reminder of how this works, Master Trainer Lindsay Hill is going to take us through the module. And then at the end, we are going to ask you the skill testing questions. Now, as a reminder, you have to get 80% to pass today's module. But we do, of course, offer options to resit examinations if necessary. If you do have any questions for Lindsay or myself as we go along, feel free to type them in the chat box and we'll answer them as we go or at the end of today's presentation. That said, before I turn you over to Lindsay for today, I do want to ask you a couple of introductory questions before we get started, to get you used to using our education system. And go ahead and answer these right on the screen. So question 1 is, have you been to Washington, D.C., yes or no? Have you sold Washington, D.C. to your clients, yes or no? And are you planning on completing all 3 modules of the Washington, D.C. Special Agent Academy to become a certified D.C. Special Agent? It's great to see a number of agents calling in today, Lindsay, from across Australia and New Zealand, from the deep south in Dunedin, New Zealand, all the way, of course, to the Bay of Plenty in Sydney and Australia, Victoria, New South Wales. So awesome. It looks like the majority of you are almost there. And we'll just give it maybe 10 more seconds. Perfect. All right. Well, without further ado, in addition to being our master trainer, Lindsay is also the associate director.
Yes.
of at Washington, D.C. and Destination DC. And for those of you that are into theater, she's also just as a volunteer produced an upcoming award-winning theater production in Destination in DC called On the Town. So make sure you check that out as well. Without further ado, longtime friend of mine, Lindsay, why don't you take us through the 3 M's?
Oh, thank you, Special Agent Marshall, for that insider view of the life of Lindsay Hill. Welcome back to those of you who attended our first training module. Congratulations on getting to this point. And if this is your first time joining us, welcome. We also have a special Agent Riddle who is behind the scenes watching today. You may have received an email from her, but she is the one making sure that all of your tests are up to par and getting you those certifications. So we're going to start today, as Agent Marshall mentioned, with today's module will be focused on the National Mall, mostly monuments, memorials, and museums, and we have a short video to show you before we dive in.
This is DC, where important decisions are made, like which monument to see first and where are we going next? You know Washington. Now experience DC.
Okay, again, welcome to Mission 3Ms, which will highlight DC's monuments, memorials, and museums. You will be tested again thoroughly at the end of the segment, as mentioned, so make sure to pay close attention. Today, we will focus on the National Mall's monuments and memorials, the Smithsonian Museum, and secrets beyond. Contrary to how it may sound, the National Mall is not a shopping mall. It gets confused very often. Rather, it's one of America's national parks. It's pictured here, like Yellowstone and Yosemite. It is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. This is where all the monuments and memorials that you may be aware of are located that make DC so unique. Each one is free of charge and, again, open 24 hours a day with just a few exceptions. On the map here is the National Mall. As National Park Service land, you can see that it creates about a 3-kilometer long green space in the middle of DC for everyone to enjoy. And you will frequently see people enjoying baseball, frisbee, and kickball, as well as picnic lunches. And there's lots of food trucks in this area as well. It is anchored on one end by the U.S. Capitol building. The Capitol is also the center of Washington, D.C. It is from here that the city is divided into its 4 quadrants: northwest, southwest, northeast, and southeast. The National Mall sits in the northwest quadrant primarily. And on the other end of the National Mall is my favorite monument, the Lincoln Memorial. In between the two iconic sites, the National Mall features some of DC's other iconic buildings and museums, such as the White House, highlighted in the middle of your screen, as well as the Washington Monument. 9 of DC's 16 Smithsonian museums are also located here, all of which have free admission. This circular body of water, the tidal basin on the left-hand side, is where many of the over 2,000 cherry blossom trees bloom during our annual National Cherry Blossom Festival each spring. This is the most anticipated event each year for Washington, D.C., and you'll learn more about it in our next module on festivals. All right, everyone, put your comfy shoes on. The time has come for us to test your stamina on a walking tour of the district, which is the best way to see D.C. Let's start with a tour of the monuments and memorials, which can be done by bus, hop-on, hop-off tours, bike, Segway, or just like us, walking. We are going to follow a circular path starting with the tidal basin. The first stop commemorates Thomas Jefferson, the primary author of the Declaration of Independence and the third president of the United States. His memorial stands in a straight line across the tidal basin from the White House. Tucked away to the left is the memorial for Franklin D. Roosevelt. It's surrounded by trees and mostly hidden from the main road. However, its contents should not be missed on a trip to DC. The interior is a maze of statues depicting the times of the Great Depression, including the great FDR and his wife, Eleanor. Thought-provoking quotes from the duo are sprinkled throughout the structure and provide a basis for contemplation as you stroll. Following the circle, we reach the Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial, which is the first monument on the National Mall to feature a non-presidential historic figure. Located on the pathway to the Lincoln Memorial sits the Korean War Veterans Memorial, honoring the veterans of the Korean War. It's comprised of a mural inscribed with images representing the land, sea, and air troops, 19 steel statues representing a platoon on patrol, a United Nations wall listing the 22 members of the United Nations that contributed support to the Korean War, and a pool of remembrance. Visible from this point is the top of the well-known Lincoln Memorial mentioned earlier. This is one of the most visited memorials on the National Mall, and with good reason. Martin Luther King delivered his famous "I Have a Dream" speech here from the stops of the memorial, and you can actually still find a marker and stand in the same spot. This is also the location many people know will recognize the famous film Forrest Gump that uses this landmark. It's also important to the image of America as this is featured on the U.S. $5 bill. The Vietnam Veterans Memorial is located just to the north of the Lincoln Memorial and provides one of the National Mall's most powerful scenes. In truth, the wall here is actually made up of 2 identical walls containing more than 58,000 names. The names are listed in chronological order based on the date of casualty, and within each day, names are shown in alphabetical order. Perhaps the memorial wall's most defining characteristic, though, is a visitor's ability to see his or her reflection at the same time as the engraved names, connecting the past and present like few other monuments can. If you wish to spot the name of a relative or friend while there, there's also a virtual wall before you embark to find, and they have papers and pencils to make etchings. All right, we now take a stroll along the reflecting pool towards the National World War II Memorial, located on the mall between the Lincoln Memorial and the Washington Monument. It pays tribute to each of the 56 states, territories, and the district that assisted in the war, highlighting both the Pacific and Atlantic fronts. One of the World War II Memorial's most striking features is the Freedom Wall. 4,048 gold stars pay tribute to American lives lost at war. Each star represents about 100 Americans. Be sure to use your super sleuth skills to find the memorial's 2 hidden inscriptions of Kilroy was here, another powerful American symbol from World War II. The saying represents the presence of U.S. soldiers and was scribbled with an accompanying doodle at numerous locations during the war. We walk north now to the top of the map and the White House, probably the most recognizable building in D.C. The White House was not originally white but painted yellow until 1798. It's been the home of every U.S. president except George Washington, but was not given its current name until 1901, when President Teddy Roosevelt announced that the nickname for the mansion would now be its official name. Tours of the White House are conducted but are hard to request. Information on the request process can be found on the White House website. Visitors are still welcome to get a close view of the outside of the building, however, through the fencing and taking pictures on either side of the house. Lucky visitors can even catch a glimpse now and then of a motorcade or the Marine One helicopter, which are the president's official helicopters entering or leaving the property. Located in the center of the National Mall, the Washington Monument, marked by the number 3, is the tallest freestanding structure in the world. This means that the stones are held together simply by gravity. Yes, that is true facts. Visitors are welcome to ride to the top of the monument to get a bird's eye view of the city. Tickets are free and first come, first serve, and they are required for all visitors ages 2 and up. Advanced reservation tickets may be ordered and are encouraged from recreation.gov 3 months in advance for a non-refundable reservation fee of $1 per ticket. All orders are final. There are no refunds. Individuals can request up to 6 tickets. Actually, right now, during COVID, it's 4, but in regular, usual times, it would be 6. I hope you remembered your Smart Trip card from our first module. We're going to get that out, hop on the circulator bus, and head down to the other end of the National Mall. Here, we'll be visiting 2 new additions to DC's incredible lineup of memorials. First, we have the Dwight D. Eisenhower Memorial, designed by world-renowned architect Frank Gehry. This memorial is located at the base of Capitol Hill. The 4-acre urban park features a variety of pieces that symbolize Eisenhower's inspirational feats during his time as president. As Supreme Commander of the Allied Expeditionary Force in Europe during World War II, and as the 34th U.S. president. 1 block east of the memorial, tucked next to the entrance of the Smithsonian National Museum of the American Indian, is the new National Native American Veterans Memorial. This incredible space honors the military service and sacrifice of Native veterans and their families. It was opened to the public on Veterans Day 2020, and this tribute to Native heroes recognizes for the first time on a national scale the enduring and distinguished service of Native Americans in every branch of the U.S. military. Long overdue. All right, as we continue east down the National Mall, we come upon the U.S. Capitol building. The Statue of Freedom, which sits on top of the building, is the highest structure in the District of Columbia. This is the location where the House of Representatives and Senate gather to discuss and pass legislation. The building is typically open for daily tours, but currently right now is still closed for tours. Visitors can sign up for an allotted time online at visitthecapitol.gov. The Library of Congress is located across the street from this Capitol building and connects through an underground tunnel. This is the largest library in the world. It features rotating exhibits. No tickets are required. And they do have docent tours, which are free and can be requested in advance for larger groups. Located next to the Capitol building and the Library of Congress is the U.S. Supreme Court. This is the highest court in the U.S. and open to the public for self-guided tours Monday through Friday. Aside from the courtrooms, you can also view rotating exhibits. It's also possible to spy on the inner workings of the court by viewing an argument. You can see the calendar of when arguments are occurring on their website, and it's encouraged to get in line by 9 a.m. because they fill the seats on a first come and first serve basis. From our current location, we could hop on the metro and visit the Pentagon, located across the river from DC in Arlington, Virginia. The Pentagon is the largest low-rise office building in the world and the headquarters of the Department of Defense. The Pentagon offers free guided tours Monday through Friday. Reservations are available 90 days in advance, typically. There's also a 9/11 memorial located directly outside this building that honors the victims lost in the attack on the Pentagon. The memorial itself is open 24/7. You can view and explore all of our monuments through our 360-degree videos available on our website, which is listed here. All right, now that you have learned about some of the key monuments and memorials that are located on our National Mall, it is time to explore the museums and galleries. Let's start with the famous Smithsonian museums. Some people may not know there are actually 16 Smithsonian Institution museums located in DC, as well as the National Zoo. Each and every one of these museums are free to visitors, and they are open every day except December 25th. We will go through the majority of options on the National Mall. Starting with the area closest to the Washington Monument, the newest Smithsonian Museum is the National Museum of African American History and Culture, or NEMAC for short, how we refer to it here in DC. Highlights include Harriet Tubman's hymnal, Nat Turner's Bible, a plantation cabin from South Carolina, Michael Jackson's fedora, Kobe Bryant's Lakers uniform, and much more. Timed entry passes are required for this museum. Or always required for groups of 10 or more. Please reference their website for any updates on availability of those tickets. Right next door sits the National Museum of American History. This is dedicated to the American identity, and the museum holds over 3 million artifacts, including the original Star-Spangled Banner, George Washington's uniform, and Dorothy's ruby slippers from The Wizard of Oz. Next down the row is the National Museum of Natural History. This museum boasts a rotating collection of over 127 million items, including the Hope Diamond, ancient Egyptian mummies, as well as the newly reopened Fossil Hall, which holds the nation's T-Rex, one of the largest and most complete T-Rexes ever discovered. Other exhibits include the Live Butterfly Pavilion and the Insect Zoo, which hosts live tarantula feedings. Sounds a little fun. The closest Smithsonian to the U.S. Capitol is the National Museum of the American Indian, which cares for one of the world's most expansive collections of Native objects, photographs, and media, covering the entire Western Hemisphere. Spy Trick, along with the National Museum of African American History and Culture, it holds one of the best food courts among the Smithsonian museums and a great stop for lunch. Working our way back towards the Washington Monument, we come upon the most popular Smithsonian and the third most visited museum in the entire world, the National Air and Space Museum. And for good reason. It holds an extensive history of air and space travel and is fun for kids and adults alike, from the Wright brothers' original 1903 flyer to astronaut spacesuits and a lunar rock sample. During the years, the collection has grown so large that there's a dedicated annex, the Stephen F. Udvar-Hazy Center, also a Smithsonian museum and located near the Dulles International Airport. Please note that the National Mall's location is currently being renovated with a full completion estimated for 2025. The museum will remain open throughout this time. However, some exhibits will be closed, and they are introducing the first new exhibits this upcoming fall. Next door is the Hirshhorn Museum and Sculpture Garden, lovingly called by us the Donut. The museum is a leading voice for contemporary art and culture and provides a national platform for the art and artists of our time. Last but certainly not least of the National Mall Smithsonian's, you get two museums in one, the Freer Gallery of Art and the Arthur M. Sackler Galleries. They're located in a shared building just behind the Smithsonian Castle. These galleries, collectively known as Freer Sackler, focus on Asian art. Secret surprise just for you agents in training, a few blocks from the National Mall at the top of the map sits an impressive Smithsonian museum, the National Portrait Gallery. The gallery paints a picture of the many influential people throughout America's history through many mediums. It also showcases the only complete set of presidential portraits outside of the White House. 2 blocks south of the Portrait Gallery starts our journey of other free attractions outside of the Smithsonian family. First up, the National Archives Museum. This building preserves historical government documents, and you can see the original U.S. Declaration of Independence, Constitution, and the Bill of Rights preserved here. Tickets are not usually required to view these documents, but are very highly recommended during our busy spring season. Just across the street, you will find the National Gallery of Art. Though it sits on the National Mall, true agents know that this is not a Smithsonian. The campus consists of 2 buildings and a sculpture garden. Though through its east and west buildings, the Gallery of Art preserves, collects, and exhibits art from numerous countries and historical eras, including the only painting by Leonardo da Vinci in the Americas. The sculpture garden attached to the gallery holds fun seasonal events, including jazz in the garden every Friday during the summer with some fantastic sangria and an ice skating rink in the winter. Located just steps from the Washington Monument is the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum, specializing in the documentation, study, and interpretation of Holocaust history. It's dedicated to helping citizens of the world confront hatred, prevent genocide, promote human dignity, and strengthen democracy. Free time tickets are required between March and August and are also available online. Neighboring this building is the U.S. Bureau of Engraving and Printing, which produces U.S. dollars for the Federal Reserve, our country's central bank. If you have ever wondered how money is made, this is the place for you. But don't get any ideas of walking out with a payday. You are not ready for a mission of that caliber just yet. Tickets for individuals to tour the building and watch the process are available from 9 to 2 and are distributed on a first-come, first-served basis. Group tours for 10 to 30 people run from 11 to 12:30 p.m. Requests can be made through the group reservation request form on the Bureau's website. We're not done yet. Outside of the many free options DC has in its back pocket, many highly specialized museums await you that do charge admission. We come upon first to Arctic House, an interactive new age art destination dedicated to showcasing artists who work with new technology and new forms of creative expression, forming the crossroads of art, science, and technology. This attraction highlights rotating exhibits throughout the year and is truly stunning place to visit. Agents in training, we have come to your headquarters. Get ready. This is so exciting. The newly transformed Southwest Quadrant of DC and LaFont Plaza is the perfect home for the International Spy Museum. The museum welcomes visitors into the world of spycraft and teaches them about the past, present, and future of spying. The museum features real spy gadgets from around the world, maybe some you have used, as well as stories of both famous and little-known spies throughout history. It's a true test to see how much you have learned here. Close by is the highly coveted Museum of the Bible, which showcases fascinating artifacts dating back to the time of the Bible, as well as original copies of the script. It offers an immersive experience into Bible stories and highlights the Bible's continuous impact on the world around us. And one of my favorites is the 40 flyover of the city. Located in Judiciary Square, the National Law Enforcement Museum is focused on telling the story of American law enforcement, past, present, and future. Visitors have the chance to solve a crime, go undercover, and make the tough decisions of a 911 dispatcher. The National Building Museum is dedicated to architecture, engineering, and design. They actually just went through a renovation, which just opened this past year. They also have a secret project every summer. In the past, these projects have included a giant ball pit and a replica of Shakespeare's Globe Theatre. So definitely check that out. All right, the newest museum to open DC is Planet Word, which showcases the immense power of language through interactive exhibits. It's housed inside the historic Franklin School in downtown. Planet Word is the world's first voice-activated museum with immersive displays that dazzle visitors of all ages. Inside, you will discover the true power of words and how they bring joy, foster empathy, and connect people from all over the world. This is a super fun museum. There's a karaoke room where you get to sing Disney classics if you like me. Close by is the National Museum of Women in the Arts, which was opened to redefine traditional histories of art. The museum is the only museum in the world solely dedicated to celebrating the contributions of women. It includes 5,000 pieces. And it's currently also closed for renovations and will be open in a couple of years. Next up, we visit the National Children's Museum, which is aimed at children 12 and under as a means to help develop their curiosity in STEAM: science, technology, engineering, art, and math. And I'll tell you, I went here for the first time a couple weeks ago. I also had a very fun time, so it's not just for kids. It's super fun. So as you can tell, the options are almost endless, and this is just the National Mall opportunities. So visit washington.org to find even more activities in Washington, D.C., including our list of over 100 free things to do. You made it, agents. You got through another one. So thank you again. This part of your briefing is now complete. Myself and Special Agent Marshall will walk you through your questions to make sure you have passed this module.
Great. Well, thanks, Master Trainer Lindsay. It's great to have you back and take us through that very informative session. There was one question just before we get into the questions for the agents that I think was brought up by Mike, and he just asked, are photos allowed to be taken inside some of these museums or not, or does it depend?
It would certainly depend. I would say I think pretty much a majority of the museums are photo friendly. Some will just require no flash, but I don't believe there is really one that wouldn't allow you to take photos.
Cool.
Yeah.
And agents, just before we do get into the questions, I just thought I'd refresh and remind you that for any of your colleagues that weren't able to attend today, they can actually complete the Agent Specialist program online. And I'll pop a link into the box while we're going through the questions and in the chat box. But also, what are the benefits to you? Like, why are you doing this? And just a reminder, some of the quick benefits of the Special Agent Academy are that you will receive on completion a DC Special Agent badge and certification, recognizing you as a DC expert. You'll be automatically entered to be considered for future familiarization tours to Washington, D.C. You'll get access to DC special deals and discounts for your personal use when visiting with family or friends, and access to new and updated training missions, which are constantly updated. So we have new missions all the time. And you'll receive our, of course, Destination DC Special Agent newsletters as well. So that's all, the benefits of becoming a special agent. So let's get you there. Remembering you need 80% to pass, but if you have some challenges today, reach out to us and we'll let you maybe resit the examination as well, or Special Agent Erica as well. So why don't you take us through the first one, Linz?
All right. Question number 1. What is the National Mall? Is it the large shopping mall in the United States, a large lake in the center of DC surrounded by monuments and trees, a small national park in the middle of DC, home to many iconic monuments and museums, or a famous shopping street in DC known for upscale shopping? I hope this is a good one.
And agents, remember, just answer right on as we go through. We'll read them out, but go ahead and move on if you finish, and then hit submit at the bottom when you're done. But question number 2, each spring, thousands of what type of tree bloom throughout the city? Cherry blossom, magnolia, peach blossom, or tulip?
All right, moving on. Which color was the White House originally painted? Blue, pink, yellow, or brown?
All right, and moving along to question 4, what body of water do the Jefferson, FDR, and Martin Luther King Jr. memorials sit on? The Atlantic Ocean, the C&O Canal, the Tidal Basin, or the Anacostia River?
Question 5. Where did Martin Luther King Jr. deliver his famous "I Have a Dream" speech? The White House, the Washington Monument, the U.S. Capitol, or the Lincoln Memorial?
Cool. Moving on. Question 6. Which of these does not require a timed entry pass or ticket? The Library of Congress, the Washington Monument, the International Spy Museum, or the U.S. Capitol Building? That one's a bit of a trickier one. Tricky one.
Number 7. How many Smithsonian museums are there in DC? This also might be a tricky one. 16, 9, 23, or 2?
I think when you did this in the presentation, you really enunciated the number, though, because I think you knew it was a question. So I think it's not as tricky as maybe you think.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Question 8. Which museum is the home to the only Leonardo da Vinci painting in the Americas? Is it the National Archives, the National Gallery of Art, the Hirshhorn Museum, or the Phillips Collection?
All right. Which museum holds the original U.S. Declaration of Independence? The National Museum of Natural History, the National Archives, the National Building Museum, or the Museum of the Bible?
Great. Question number 10. Which structure can be ascended to get a bird's eye view of the city and surrounding areas? Is it the Washington Monument, the Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial, the Library of Congress, or the National Archives? Oh, that's 10 questions, Linz.
That's it. We did it.
We are going to give some time because I know that, just and take your time, make sure you get the answers. We want all of you to get 80%.
Yes.
But again, as a reminder, if you have any questions for Lindsay or I, go ahead and also pop those into the chat box. We'd be more than happy to address anything that's, other than the 10 answers that are on the screen.
I mean, no, I think I hope you all see, just within, the National Mall, that you need many, many days to visit all that DC has to offer. And so, and I hope after the next module, when we go through all of the festivals and everything, you'll have really nice itinerary ideas to share. Here I see a question. How do we know if we passed the last module? Agent Riddle has been keeping track of all that. So if you did not get an email from her saying that you did not pass, then you passed. And Erica, you can respond in the text if that is not correct.
A lot of people saying they just can't wait to get back. And we had another question. How many days would you suggest to visit? And I know that's a really tough one because if you saw the last episode, we had agents that had been there many times and were blown away with the neighborhoods and how much else was on offer. So I think how are you going to answer that? How many days are you going to suggest, Lindsay?
Right. Well, it really, I think, we understand that people have multiple destinations probably within their journeys. I would say typically people stay 4 days. So I would say, a good 4 nights would be great. You're still not going to see everything, but it would give you a nice rounded look. But you could definitely stay a month and not see everything.
Yeah, and the other thing I thought might be important for the agents to think about is, especially as international, more, I guess, sorry, what I'm looking for, like when Houston and Dallas Fort Worth come back on from the marketplace in terms of flight schedules, which would get us that much closer to the East Coast. Oftentimes DC is combined with New York. And what we also try and position is that it's a great idea sometimes to do DC from an international perspective when you're doing that international airfare on the front end. So you start in DC with that 4-night stay. It's a little bit, it's a great place to get out and walk, as you've seen. There's so many free things to see and do, and then train up to New York versus going to New York first and then obviously training into DC.
Right. I agree. Yeah. Yep.
Of course, only until that new Project Sunrise flight happens and we are flying direct into New York. And then
I know.
First and then go to DC.
Very excited about that. Very, very excited. Let's see. There also, yes, if you do not get a passing score, again, you will receive an email providing instructions on how to retake or resit the exam. We want everyone to pass, so we'll give you as many times as you need.
And just who should they be looking out for that email from? Just one more quick reminder.
Agent Erica Riddle, Special Agent Erica Riddle. Cool. She's the girl to know.
If you're not hearing anything, it means you've passed, and keep, attending our modules. There's one more to go, and we're going to talk about that in just a second. If you have received a note, there will be an opportunity from Agent Riddle to resit your exam.
Yes.
Amazing. I think we're almost there. If anyone needs a little bit more time, can you just let us know in the chat box? Otherwise, we will take this as SAT examination. And you can see the email that Eric has just popped in there of who will be emailing you. So that's great. It looks like everyone's completed. Cool. So a quick reminder, our final module will be on the 2nd of December at the same time. It will focus, as Lindsay mentioned, on sports festivals and events, as well as the Capital Region USA. Thank you, everyone, for sitting today, and also for all of these positive comments coming through in the chat box. We really appreciate your time to learn more about Washington, D.C. and taking this program. And I know both Lindsay and I say this, that we can't wait to see your clients in Washington, D.C. very soon. Linz, thank you for all your time. I know it's later in the evening there. I think it's dark outside, but
it sure is.
But yes, thank you so much for taking us through that today. We're going to conclude today's session with one final video to give you a little bit more of a taste of Washington, D.C.
Thanks all.
What we're doing here is really special. We're really getting people involved in the art. I want them to feel like they can make a difference. I want them to feel passionate about the things that I feel passionate about. DC is a sort of magical place. There really isn't any place else in this country that you can go to find just the sheer number and breadth of museums that we have to offer. It's vibrant and it's unexpected. It feels like being in DC means making a difference.